Hello and welcome to the Genesis Studio in Munich. It's my esteemed honor tonight to welcome you to our nice space here in the heart of Munich. And I'm not going to speak that much for that long about Genesis. I'm the head of marketing for Genesis, and usually I have to explain to people that Genesis neither has to do with Phil Collins nor the Bible. Tonight, thanks to our cars, I don't have to say any of that. You actually know what we're all about. But we're actually about a little bit more than just cars. We pride ourselves on service, and that is part of our philosophy of hospitality. And hospitality is actually one of our core brand values. And that is what we're going to hear a lot more about tonight as part of our talks and the esteemed round of experts we have. Yeah, and that's really all that's left for me to say is thank you for being here. It's great to host you. We're looking forward to inspiring talks, and without further ado, here's Emma.
Thank you, Jens. I have this. Would you like to come onto the stage, ladies and gentlemen? Do make yourselves comfortable. We're going to be finding out who our friend by the flowers is in a moment. But pop yourselves down and we'll sit on try and get into the chairs there elegantly. There we're in. Right. Okay. Good evening, everybody, and it's lovely to see you. My name is Emma Nelson, and I'm going to be your host for the next half hour or so. We might run over, we might run under. It's quite good fun. This is the fourth in a series of talks that Monocle and Genesis have been doing together. We've been to London, we've been to Zurich, we've been to Geneva, and now we're here in Munich, and it's wonderful. Now, after all this, you will get a chance to go and have a good look at the cars. There are some magical people called GPAs, Genesis Personal Assistants, who you go and talk to, and they will look after you, and they will tell you all about these beautiful, beautiful cars. But for the next half hour or so, the subject of our discussion is hospitality, and the importance of hospitality to create a better quality of life, which is something that at Monocle we find really, really important. And the importance and the joy of tradition, in particular, in hospitality, something that is easy enough to spot here in Munich. You have it absolutely everywhere. You have a word that no one can translate. It's called Gemütlichkeit. And we have... It would take me 5 minutes to try and put it down together. So we want to ask, how can you use local traditions to create good spaces for hospitality, how you can be a good host, how you can create the traditions of the future. And you might be thinking, what's this got to do with cars? Well, it's all about making that all-important emotional connection, isn't it? Whether it's between the person sitting behind the wheel of the car or the person picking up a plate or checking into a hotel or even eating a delicious meal. I'll tell you who they are in a minute. And Genesis in particular is using age-old South Korean traditions to try and reinvent the way that we treat our customers. In fact, customers at Genesis aren't even called customers, they're called honoured guests. So welcome, honoured guests. So after the talks and the conversations, there will be a Q&A session, and in true Monocle tradition, there will be prizes for the best questions. So get thinking, get drinking, and my lovely colleague Hannah, she's the judge, so she's the woman you need to charm, all right? So that's it. And let me introduce my guest. Anders Thomas is CEO of Nymphenburg Porcelain Manufactory. The Nymphenburg factory, established here in Bavaria in 1747, when porcelain in Europe was at its earliest, really thrilling days. Nymphenburg has produced some of the finest porcelain in the world. I think you'd probably say it is the finest in the world, wouldn't you? You would, because you're CEO. And now your career and studies have taken you to the Far East, to Finland, but for the last 12 years or so, you've been head of Nymphenburg. And you say the essentials in his work are passion, service, and product. So thank you, very warm welcome. If you go to Alice's Hotel, you may well touch some of Anders' porcelain because you're Director of Communications at Rosewood Munich. Welcome, Alice. Rosewood's first property in Germany, is that correct? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Opened just last month, and it's not just one property. I'm sure you've all seen it walking around. It's 2 buildings. It's the Bavarian State Bank headquarters, and next door is it the adjacent Palais Neuhaus Peising, originally an aristocratic residence, and you feel like an aristocrat the moment you walk in. You say it effortlessly encapsulates the essence of Bavarian culture an immersive journey through the city's Baroque period while fostering a new appreciation for contemporary culture and community. And you feel it. I went to see it today. It's full of locals, everybody. Get down there later. Finally, Chef Mun. Chef and owner at Mun Restaurant in Munich,
Yep.
And a culinary ambassador for Genesis Europe. It's not a coincidence that he's wearing that shirt. Born in South Korea, but via Hawaii, Argentina, and LA, and a career in banking, you ended up here in Munich. Food is a fusion of South Korean and Japanese. You don't have fine dining, do you? You have fun dining.
I have fun dining.
Fun dining with Mun. At the end of today, there will be a bit of food served. Not a bit, it would be nice. Served tonight, including your so-called party noodles,
Yeah.
which take hours to make and are made of 5 different kinds of vegetables. So never, ever, as I mistakenly did, suggest to Mun that noodles are a quick thing. You're
That's
in trouble
right.
if you do. Right, let's start. Quick question for everybody. I mean, the fact is that if you come to Germany and you try a little bit of German, you have something called Gastfreundschaft, which is hospitality. And where else on earth do you have something where you have friendship written into the very word itself? I mean, that shows you just how important a cultural tradition hospitality is here in Germany. Who wants to begin with that? Well, you've been going since 1747. Well, not you personally, but
I think Gastfreundschaft is the most luxury you can have nowadays, to spend time with people you like. That's the friend, and it's sharing a meal together, like spending time without mobile, without interruption, and focusing on the other, and be respecting each other, and consummating like a meal which is prepared with passion and love, and not just open like ready to go. But I think in general you like do something special if you get something over, like even though it's a nice bread with a nice butter and nice cheese on it. And I think that's the starting point of Gastfreundschaft.
And I mean, just looking at you, Mun, having travelled the world and landed and settled in Munich, was there something special about the German traditions and the friendships and the friendliness about German hospitality and its traditions that made you think, this is where I put my roots down?
So far, I've observed that the Germans actually, when they're friends from little babies. They keep that traditional friendship like their family. And I love the fact that the Germans have the same philosophy as we do in Korea, because we don't really consider our friends as friends per se. It's a family member. And then I love the fact that we have that tradition here in Germany.
And to tell us a little bit about what it was growing up in a very traditional South Korean family, that hospitality was a phenomenally important thing, which I think I found quite surprising when I found out that actually when you have a guest that comes around, you might allow them to sort of take your bedroom and give them the best food. And that doesn't sound like much fun to me, but then again, I'm not from South Korea.
Yeah.
So tell us why that's so important.
Genesis slogan is called 손님, which literally means honored guest. When honored guest could be anybody, it could be your friend, it could be your family member, it could be your mother-in-law, for God's sake. And when they visit you, 손님, with honored guest, we bring out the best china, we bring out whatever we can to honor the guest. Sometimes meaning we have to give out our bedroom for the guest. In other words, we
Your
do our
mother-in-law
best.
gets your bedroom.
Even mother-in-law. We do our best to honor the guest. And I think that's important in our tradition.
And can you make or break a friendship or a relationship if that tradition is not upheld?
It's family members. We have to understand each other, right? sometimes it's a situation will call for not being able to honor that tradition.
Alice, I mean, Rosewood is an enormous international hotel group which prides itself in finding a sense of place. When you walk into the Rosewood here in Munich, you are immediately greeted by the entrance to a 19th century bank, and you know exactly where you are, and it very much says you are in Munich, and you are in a place of authority and power and great influence. How then did you take that very Munich tradition and then make it last past the front door or the front steps?
I think for us, it's like hospitality is the most important thing, because we want, when people come to our hotel, we want that they feel like really at home. So we have this like home away from home philosophy. So you see like lots in our house, there are lots of things everywhere. So we're not a clean hotel. You find like books and accessories and everything like that. And all the books are very well curated and tell a story about Munich. And it's not the touristy things, but it's the books that you, even when you're born and raised in Munich, you kind of like read and want to take home. And you're like, oh, I kind of forgot about those stories in Munich. And I think that's important for us. Like the nice thing, that's also our team. Although we have a very international team, like everyone really feels at home here in Munich and tells like lots of stories what they already experienced. And we also want to be open for people here in Munich. So we are not a hotel which is only for tourists, but we are like a hotel where you can go to the restaurant, to the bar, to the spa. You can also sleep if you want. But I think that's like a really nice place where you can kind of like mingle with different people, or like see friends on another table or another in the bar that you haven't seen in a long time.
Because it's interesting, today I went to have a quick look around it, and it's a very international hotel, but everybody seemed to be a local. Have you been surprised by the fact about how locals have embraced this new tradition of a new hotel?
I think we're quite happy that our vision we had really works, because we were like, it's interesting when you work for a hotel for an opening, you don't know how the day will be when you really open the door. You always have like these plans and ideas and what we want to do, but then like on the day when you open, we were like, what happens if nobody comes actually? So how will we react then? And now where we see like lots of people who are there for different occasions and different locations. It's nice to have this like in Germany say Stammgäste already, even though we are only open for not even a month. But it's fun to go. I mean, I have my office in the 5th floor, but every time I go to the restaurant, it's fun to see people that I know or see like familiar faces there. So I think we're happy that everyone. I mean, probably lots of people from you guys already been there, but we are happy that it works out.
And how did you feel when they said Nymphenburger, or how did the Nymphenburger rosewood thing come about? Because it's astonishing if you do get a chance going to sort of touch or hold some Nymphenburger porcelain. I think we were talking about it before we came on stage. You feel as if a slight amount of sort of magical electricity is coursing through your veins simply through a bit of china clay.
It's not China.
It's not China clay. It's porcelain. There is a huge. You get into major trouble.
Call it Bavarian. Yeah, that's maybe better. China,
but that feeling of sort of you going through the door and thinking, okay, this is a tradition that I'm walking into, and then that tradition of touching Nymphenburger porcelain is really quite special.
I think it's the combination of like rosewood and Nymphenburg to like aim to something special, and having like putting all the effort in like even one small cup you hold in your hands, and having the aura to touch it, to have it, and you like feel like illustrated around it, and then like rosewood have trying to like come up with the new scale of like a level of hospitality in Munich, which we have all the old traditional ones, which are like not moving a step forward and step back because they say we are here, and I think that's makes the difference. And we want to make a change all the time, so we are happy to get a partner or get somebody next to us who's like putting the same effort into anything what we do.
And tell me a little bit more about how our eating habits have changed phenomenally since the 18th century, and even in the last 50 years, haven't they? So I don't know, who here has a set of china?
No, who has Nymphenburg? The rest doesn't matter.
Who has it? You have Nymphenburg. Do you eat your dinner off Nymphenburg? You do? How amazing. So everybody's going around to this lady's house and we'll be treading nice very carefully. But the idea of, I mean, who here nowadays does actually have the best china and the stuff that we have from every day?
you should use it every day. It's the same with your cashmere sweater. You're not hiding it in the closet and take it out once a year. You wear it when it's cold. So that's the same. If you eat something, you should honor something. Have a nice cup. Have a nice plate. You don't need it for 25 people at home, but you at least need 2 or 1 for yourself.
Okay, so you're suggesting every time there's a piece of toast or a Schinkenbrot, it comes out on the Nymphenburg. Wow. Okay, after we've been to this lady's house, we're all going around to Anders' house or Schinkenbrot and Nymphenburg. Right. Are you responsible for all this trouble? Because we've got the idea of fine dining going away, being replaced by fun dining.
Yeah.
It's you, isn't it?
I don't think I'm responsible for that, but I think when you go, nobody has time nowadays. So you sort of set aside maybe 2-3 hours a week, and you want to get together with somebody you love, and maybe somebody you hate. I don't know, whatever reason that is. But I think my philosophy of going out with a friend is to enjoy that 3 hours. I set aside 3 hours of my busy time, and when you go out, you want to fully embrace the time you're with the friend you are, or the lovers, or whoever, the kids, or whoever that is. And what I try to do in my restaurant is, okay, you give me 3 hours, and I'll provide every avenue for you to enjoy. Forget about what's out there. And we not hang up with white cloth or anything like that, but I try to provide all the ways so you can have fun with whoever you are with. And I think that's important for us. And I think when you go to a fine dining, it's so-called fine dining, it's so stiff, and there is, I think, it's kind of dehumanized the moment you're enjoying, the moment you try to get with the person you're with. And we're not into that. We are into have fun. Have fun. At least the 3 hours you're with in my restaurant.
Okay, we'll try very hard to have fun.
And that is a philosophy. I think we forget it. A lot of times I think we forget having fun when we go out. And that's important, that we're not having fun, we're just eating. And that's not fun. Just have fun. Forget what's out there. Whatever you're worrying about, whatever trouble, whatever problem you have in your life, well, let's take that 3 hours and have fun.
How much do you try and create that in your hotel? Because I think Mun's hit on something here, which is the idea that the way that we eat food has changed, that fine dining, even 10 years ago, I always used to find it quite an intimidating experience. You come in, and if you don't understand it, and if you don't sit right, and if you don't do this, and if you don't do that. And the control was very much in the power of the restaurant, and that was it. Sit up straight and be given. And by the way, there's going to be a hefty price tag for this one. Has that now gone, or is there still a role for that level of formality?
I think it's like this the same idea we also have. So we have our chef Matthias Brenner. He's an amazing chef, but what he wants to create is not like a fine dining where you sit and it's a very stiff environment. But he wants to have like the best food he can make, and it's a really, really delicious food and really nicely plated. But at the same time, it should be, as you said, it should be like a fun evening. You should enjoy with friends, family, or whoever you're having dinner or lunch. And you mentioned it before. It's like what do you want to get rid of in a restaurant? It's like your phone, and we see it a lot. That people don't use their phone that much. I mean, they take pictures, and they take pictures of the food and of the interior and stuff like that. But when they are eating and having a conversation, the phone is usually not, so they don't look at their phone. And I think that's a really nice thing about like also like good hospitality, that people kind of like forget the outside world, but are really into the conversation they are having at the moment.
Oh, it's your job, Anders, to take a centuries-old porcelain manufacturer and keep up and even lead the traditions of the future when it comes to fine dining, because there are scant few people in this room who have the china set, but you have to make sure that it's relevant, don't you? That the plate is relevant.
I believe it's not the fine dining who's like being too stiff. It's more the fun dining or the casual dining at home. So of course we sell formal dinner sets, but like most people come in and say, well, I need for a party of 8, like just like a starter and a main course, because I have dessert by my grandma I inherit, and then I have something old I want to mix and match. And then I think it's the attitude yourself, if you invite people, host people, that you make it nice, and you make it. Otherwise you can go to McDonald's or whatever. But it's the rest is something you spend the time, and you like. I think that's the change maker, and people are taking more after Corona or after COVID. People are more keen about quality than of mass. So they rather say, well, I buy myself 2 cups for the breakfast instead of having 8 from IKEA.
And what kind of people are coming in to buy Nymphenburger now? Are we looking at, is it people who are older, younger? I mean, because the way you design is quite cutting edge now.
Depends on from which perspective you're looking, but
right.
I think they're coming in from like serious buying, coming in from 35 to 55.
Okay.
Everybody over 60 in Germany says,
this is like midlife crisis porcelain.
I mean, we had like Mick Jagger and Elton John the other day inside, so I said, yeah, it's a midlife crisis for them, but it's always the same from where you're looking for.
You're not going to tell us what they bought, are you?
They bought the modern things.
Oh.
I mean, Elton wanted only like small nibbles and dibbles, and Elton and Mick bought like a whole dinner set.
Did he? Yeah. Wherefore? So next time you go to Mick Jagger's house, you go,
but you have to go to the one in South France, so don't go to the one in LA, okay? Because there he has different ones.
Just tell us a little bit more. You've all travelled widely, done different jobs, different places. What traditions have you brought home with you to Munich? I mean, you've been to Finland and Far East. You've been absolutely everywhere, and you've worked with the likes of Paramount, and you've been via Hawaii, Argentina, and landed in Munich. So who first? Mun, do you want to tell us what you've picked up from different places that you think, actually, I need to bring this to where I am now?
We just talked about a little bit about cooking and love. I think it's just the human nature that we want to express love to your friends and your family. And in every culture I've been to, even in New York, LA, Korea, and Argentina, that tradition is human tradition. And I want to keep that here in Munich. And when I cook, cooking is my passion. When I cook, I have a Zen moment. Either I get really peaceful, or I get really angry. depends on my mood. But I think what I try to do is it's not the food that I want to present. I want to present part of my heart. So I want people to taste that. I think that's a tradition of human being that I learned living around the world. And that's what I try to bring in. That's what I try to keep.
And your heart can be anywhere in the world, can it?
Exactly.
I think the one thing what I figured out in the traveling through the world and like living in different places is like the respect for each other and the respect for nature, and then having something which it's true. You know, it's nothing like no enhancer. It's no like just a nice shell, and inside it's muddy. So you just want something which is authentic, and I think that's something which comes into. It was in Nymphenburg already the whole time, but which I say it's important to like respect anything, the whole culture. Living in if you want to last something for 276 years, then you have to like do something and see that you're in an equilibrium of workers, of like artisanship, of like management, and of ingredients, and all the passion you put inside. And if you like wouldn't have the balance, I think you wouldn't be there.
Could you just explain to us, for those of us who might not have been to the factory, you can see people at everything, absolutely everything is done by hand, and you're creating a new generation of tradition, aren't you?
Yeah, we're just coming out and giving the pace, working together with contemporary artists, coming out with something which is unexpected, and see that we will be relevant in the next 50 years as well.
And the idea of having people who are experts at what they do, I mean, last night we were out for dinner, and for someone from London who's finding it quite hard to see how Surface is adapting nowadays, it was astonishing to see that the woman who served us had been working in the same place for 13 years. She knew the menu inside and out. She seemed genuinely happy to be there with her and her team. And I thought, actually, this is something that kind of is really good in this part of the world. How do you do that with an where obviously you have international demands from your bigger company, but how do you find people that you can steal from other bars and other restaurants and other hotels to come and work for Rosewood? I mean, how welcome are you here by the people down the road?
I mean, it's interesting because I mean, like 8 months ago, we were like a group of not even 10 people working for Rosewood, and within last month, like the team grow and grow. And I think we are quite lucky because we have like lots of people either already worked for Rosewood in a different property and wanted to come to Munich because they either wanted to be for an opening project or wanted to come to Munich because they like the city. So we have and other people who like Germans who worked for different companies in the world, and then they heard that Rosewood is opening in Munich. They said, like, I want to go back to either my hometown or Germany. But I think we have a quite young team. Like, our team is fairly young, but they are also, every one of them is very, very motivated and has very, very high standards. So they sometimes even have higher standards than Rosewood actually has. But they're like, when I go there and say like, oh, that was perfect, and they were like, nah, we could have done better. But I'm like, that's really, I think, like for people who are a very younger generation, you always hear like Gen Z, they don't want to work and they are complaining about everything. But we found a group of people who really, really want to work, and I think that's also. I think the philosophy that Rosewood brings in, and also like the property, because it's such a beautiful property we're having, and our architects built a very, very, very nice house, and I think that everyone feels this like luxury hospitality we're having, and I think that helps if you provide like a good workspace. Then I think also people really like to work.